Ladies and gentlemen, the 2016 summer season of movies is off to a tremendous start with Captain America Civil War. All right, I just saw the movie last night. Kind of needed a little time to process. Plus, I got back really late, so it was kind of like, well, I don't know. And yeah, at the end of the day, I decided, yeah, I'll just do the review as soon as I can, and let's do it. All right, so Captain America Civil War, of course, follows up the events of not only Captain America the Winter Soldier, but also Avengers Age of Ultron. And kind of has to, basically, the story revolves around the consequences of the actions of the Avengers in the previous films, of, and of people's responses to this. And some of them react well, some of them react violently. And the Avengers are torn apart as far as enacting with a new kind of government labeled way of protection for the world. And some of them say yes, we need supervision. Some of them say no, this takes away some freedom from us, and could bite us in the ass later. And yeah, I think that it's a really good story actually, and a good something. Not every comic book movie does that. Where they kind of reflect on the actions of the characters. And yeah, I think Captain America: Civil War is it's in the upper echelon, definitely, of the Marvel films we've had thus far. In fact, maybe just because I'm fresh off of it, but I'm willing to say it's the second best Marvel film we've had. For me, I feel like this and the first Iron Man are really close as far as score wise and how good they are. And I think Captain America: The Winter Soldier is also very close too. It's like they're all just right here, and then the Avengers is just a little bit higher up there. But for me, the first Avengers, not Age of Ultron, which is I think, yeah. Anyways, you get what I mean. It's not. I think I gave that an 8, but yeah, I think this is a spectacular movie though. And it's one of those movies that as soon as it starts, you're kind of like, okay, so we're in for something that's going to be a little more thought provoking than maybe your average Marvel movie. If we can look at some of the previous films like Ant-Man and Thor: The Dark World and stuff like that, where there's not a whole lot of intellectual heft to the story. It's just kind of sit down for 2 hours, grab some popcorn, you're just going to have a fun time. We'll have some laughs in there. We'll have some good action scenes. We'll have some good fight sequences and stuff. But generally that's the way Marvel has been doing it. Even Iron Man 2, for all of its faults, that was kind of just the ambition of it. Iron Man 3, pretty much the same thing. But when it came to the Russo brothers directing, Joe and Anthony Russo, who directed this, and Winter Soldier as well, an intellectual kind of level just jumped on there. And I think that's reflected also in the talent involved in the film. I mean, we got freaking Robert Redford. Who would have guessed Robert Redford would have done a Captain America movie in The Winter Soldier? And here we get like Daniel Bruhl and Chadwick Boseman and even freaking William Hurt returns, which I think he said in an interview a few years ago that he'd forgotten about doing the Hulk movie that he did, and somehow they roped him into this. And yeah, he was really good too. I actually got more out of him than I thought. I thought he would be a one scene and then done character, but he comes back one or two more times. Don't want to give what. Again, this is if you haven't seen any reviews I've done before or recently, just remember I do non-spoiler. I don't give anything away because I'm not an asshole like that. Um, I might hint at things, but I never flat out say them because that's mean, and not everybody gets to see the movie all at the same time. So yeah. Anyways, but but they even got like him and Martin Freeman was even in the movie. Even though for me he was kind of a disappointing character because he only got like one scene and that was it. But we've we're getting hints that maybe he might pop up again and in the ever expanding Marvel universe. And yeah, I'm thinking that again with Civil War, there's an intellectual level there. Maybe not quite as strong as the like the political thriller aspects we got in The Winter Soldier, but I think this film makes up for that. There's certainly a lot more humor I thought than Winter Soldier had, which still had really funny moments too. Um, and even like that opening scene in Winter Soldier where him and Falcon go back and forth over just doing their morning jog is a really good start to the film and has some funny moments in there. But yeah, I think Civil War, especially with one big action scene in the middle, which I'm sure I'll get to and mention many times throughout this review. Um, Man, there were some moments. I was in a packed house. I had to sit, I think, in the second row to the front because I was actually I got there really early. I was going to see a different film first, and then I was going to see Green Room actually, which was playing at the same time, and it's a really small independent movie. I haven't heard anything about it, haven't seen any trailers, just know that Patrick Stewart's in it, and that's it. But unfortunately, the screening, I got there too late. The screening wouldn't, I would have missed the first 10 minutes, which yeah, I can't, I don't do that. So instead, I kind of had to pick and choose, and I saw I hadn't seen Zootopia yet, and that was a big hit, and so I got to sit through. I think I missed only the last 5 minutes because I was like, okay, I have to get to Civil War because the running time of that ran into, and I think there was a possibility I could miss some of the opening scene. I'm like, can't do that. No, I've been waiting for this for a while. So it's the first time I've ever walked out of a movie, actually, Zootopia, but just for timing things. Tiny mini review here just to get back. We'll get back to it, but I thought Zootopia was a lot of fun. Really great movie. It has a lot to say about prejudices and potential racism and stuff. And all amongst that, though, there's really entertaining sequences, and animation looks really great. I mean, Disney has just been hitting it out of the park this year. Just every time. Zootopia I thought was really wonderful, even though I didn't see the last 5 minutes. Jungle Book that's one of the reasons I go to the movies. It was so uplifting and so fun. That review's on my channel, by the way, if you haven't seen that one. And now Captain America Civil War, which technically is under the Marvel branch, but under the big umbrella of Disney, which, controls everything nowadays, it seems. We're getting some spectacular stuff from Disney this year. And maybe, I haven't looked at the full schedule for what else they're doing this year, but other than, I know Doctor Strange is coming, I know Rogue One is coming, and Finding Dory. But man, they're setting some high precedences, and we'll have to see. This could be one of the best years for any big studio like this in a long time, because all these studios, they always have one or two little misfires here or there and little cash grabs that don't do well critically and or with audiences and at the box office. But anyways, let's get back to the main event here. What was I talking about? Oh, I completely forgot. Anyways, but all right, let's get into it here. What I really liked about it. First of all, the action sequences and the fight sequences. Man, these have got to be the best action and fight sequences I've seen in any comic book movie ever. Better than the Dark Knight trilogy, better than the first Avengers, better than Winter Soldier, better than anything the DC universe has thrown at us so far by a lot. Yeah, even better than those first couple Iron Man. Like if you go back to Iron Man 2, that end sequence though, when the big fight sequence with all the drones and stuff, even that is a really well set up action scene. I thought. Yeah, Civil War outdoes it in a heartbeat, of course, but movie wise too. But yeah, I think especially there's a really good chase scene, kind of that ends the first act. Where Winter Soldier, it's in most of the trailers, it's Winter Soldier getting chased by Black Panther, and Cap goes in there to try to solve everything, and it's a good chase sequence, really good, and there's one of the best stunts I've ever seen with a motorcycle in a long time. I'll just say that doesn't give anything away. That was tremendous, and I was like, oh, I had heard the rumblings about airport sequence. It was kind of religiously everybody talked about it, and I got to credit Christy Lemire, his review of the film from What the Flick, and I think she's still associated with RodReaver.com. She describes it best. She says the airport sequence, it's like the Anchorman, where they had the big, all the news crews come in and fight each other. That's what the airport sequence is. It's fun and entertaining, but and then on top of that, since this is technically a more serious movie, God, those fight sequences and the choreography and the stunts and everything, just spectacular. And I think it is easily that airport sequence. It's like 20 minutes, But it just, as soon as it was over, I was like, no, 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 no. I was like, no, more, give me more. I mean, and not to say, and it's, and that's many people, other people have made this point too, but that could easily be 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? We have to sit through this for 20 minutes, but it starts simple, then builds and builds and builds, and you'll see why. Metaphorically speaking, it builds in many ways. I don't think I'm giving too much away there, but those of you who've seen the film know what I'm talking about. Um, and yeah, every one of those, there's 12 characters involved, as we've seen in the trailer. 12 characters involved in that big sprawl there at the airport. And all the characters, all 12 characters, get at least one or two moments to shine and show off their abilities and kick some ass. And that's awesome. Really awesome. And, and one big criticism that I've had for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, big time, is they really don't like to take risks. Like, the best example I always bring up is look what Star Trek II did back in 1982, killing off Spock back then, who is kind of, if Kirk is the patriarch of that series, character wise, Spock is definitely the matriarch. Not to say that he's female. I'm just saying, if we were doing it that way, he's and his symbol, and all the Vulcan things and everything, it's pop culture stuff, easily. You don't even have to see a Star Trek movie. You know what the Vulcan live long and prosper thing is, and to kill him off and to be only your second movie to do that, that took guts. I know, sure, they brought him back in the next movie, so, but just in that standalone film, though, without the rest of the sequels and everything, just looking at that one film, that took guts. And that showed they're not afraid to take risks. And unfortunately, a lot of these superhero movies, and just any genre film really, that has a long extended sequence in films, they really don't do that. But there's a positive to that, such as in Civil War, when we get to this big action sequence where people have to choose sides, it's not just one person against another person or two on two. It's 6 on 6. So there's drawbacks to it, but at the same time, that was something, that was the first time where I kind of, because that's been the one thing, like especially in Winter Soldier, I was very, very heavily criticizing the whole uh, Nick Fury, oh, he's dead, oh, wait, he's not really dead thing. And, they do that with Loki, they do that with Thor, they did that with Groot, kind of. Hopefully they don't do that with Quicksilver from Age of Ultron. I really hope. But, and that was the one thing I was like, always they do that, where they fake you out, and it's, and it becomes almost a cliche of the series now, where, oh, they're dead, but they're not really dead, and they come back in the next movie, or they come back even later in the movie, and it's, I get sick of that. But for the first time, I was like, oh wait, maybe there is an upside to this, and that is, having these big battles and stuff, and it makes it more entertaining. Now, one big problem I had with Age of Ultron by the end was you had 9 superheroes kind of going at it, going after these robot things, these mindless robot things, and it just the way it was edited together and the way it was all shot and everything, it just looked like a mess to me. Like they were, and the effects and stuff, especially for me, looked really subpar. Maybe it's just me, but I was like, man, that's on the level of Star Wars prequels looking bad. But it would, luckily for Age of Ultron, it was only like a 35, 45-second stretch there where it's the scene where all 9 of them are like in the little chapel or whatever, and they're around the big detonator thingy. I can't even remember, but it's like the only time I think all 9 Avengers are fighting simultaneously against the robots in the film. But anyways, but here it's like all 12 of them are going at it, and there isn't any really, for some reason, and I think just because the Russos know what they're doing, I never got that sense of confusion. It felt like every character, and maybe part of it was too that we're further along in the film series now. It felt like every character had something to do, and I could pretty easily distinguish between the characters, for the most part. I mean, sure, Iron Man, War Machine have the same outfits, so that can kind of throw people off, and the Black Panther outfit kind of, um, looks similar to the War Machine outfit just in color, but and then the Spider-Man outfit stands out. Widow stands out because she doesn't have a mask on. Um, and Vision obviously stands out because he's an android. And then on the other side, on Team Cap, it's like, I can understand how all those characters are different, and all that. But yeah, it was just really. I felt like they did it way better this time than in Age of Ultron, where it kind of started to all blend together, and it's like you can't really name any one particular action that they did in that final fight sequence when they're all together that was memorable. I mean, all it was just all of them smashing robots, and it was so ugh. But this time, though, they were able to differentiate it enough and separate it enough where it wasn't, three characters taking on one and they all do something different, and they all do the same thing. No, all of them were doing something different. Ant-Man fights in one way, and then Falcon fights in another way. On the other side, Iron Man fights in this way, but Black Widow fights in this way. And something like that I thought was I don't know, it was just better to me. Maybe it's just me, but yeah. And then on top of that, I think the end fight sequence between Bucky and Cap versus Iron Man, I thought really was well done. It's brutal. It's definitely one of the more mature moments we've had in the Marvel movies for sure. And we've had some mature moments, like the opening to Guardians of the Galaxy was pretty mature and pretty in retrospect to the rest of the film, the most grown up moment of the film. Some parts of Captain America: Winter Soldier for sure. Maybe a couple moments of Ultron, and we've had moments of grown upness and moments of seriousness, but that was for sure the most like, okay, yeah, this is on another level of seriousness now, where this is brother against brother in a way. Thus, I can easily see how people call it Civil War, because that was brother against brother, North and South. But yeah. That was a really good end fight sequence too, and it was more personal. It was more scaled down than the big, because all of these Marvel movies anymore, they have to end with the big battle sequence, and I thought that was refreshing. In Ant-Man was just a one-on-one battle of personal vendettas or protecting one's family or whatever the excuses were for fighting. Here, there's another excuse. It's kind of a spoiler, so I can't say what the excuse is that gets them fighting, but it was personal, and I was like, that's a nice way. You can have your moments of big battles and stuff, and this one they just switched up and put it toward the middle to kind of lead us into the final act, and that was, I mean, obviously the airport sequence is going to be the one I think that sticks out for these big action sequences and fight sequences, and I didn't mention the opening sequence I thought was really good too, and yeah, so. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in here with the action sequences and choreography and stuff, and I can't give any of that away because I don't want to. All the bigger moments that would that are the joyous moments for the audience. So, but yeah, I can tell you for sure in that airport fight there were moments with in the audience I was with where we were all just there were moments of applause. people really got into it. Definitely, yeah. Yeah, and what else can I mention? Oh, the performances are all great. This is for sure one of the better performances Chris Evans has given as Captain America. I was really, really surprised at how much I like Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier. I thought he was kind of a throwaway part in the first Captain America. Winter Soldier, it felt like he was kind of mindless sitting there, with a couple of exceptions. But here it's like he finally gets to kind of, be a mix of still, trying to get over that brainless zombie kind of killer thing that he was dealing with in Winter Soldier, and then now he's trying to, get back to that friendly guy he was in the first Avenger, the first Captain America movie. And I'm starting, at first I was like, I don't know, because I mean, trying to, getting over the fact that there's another person who's been, from the 40s when they were mature, in their 20s, and now they're in their 20s. 70 years later, to have two of those characters, that's kind of a hump you have to get over. At least I did. And now that I'm over that, it's kind of like now that I've accepted it. Okay, he's a 90-year-old guy, almost 100-year-old guy, and he's still, in his prime here in the modern day. So I was like, okay, all right, now that I've accepted it, maybe it just grew on. He just grew on me a little more because of that. Falcon was great. I don't want to have to go through all the characters here, but yeah, I thought Robert Downey Jr. again, one of his better performances as Iron Man. And I thought with the new characters, especially Black Panther, nailed it. Chadwick Boseman nailed the character. Really great job. Fantastic action sequences, and even some of his more quieter moments. There's one particular scene where he's interacting with the villain character, Zemo, and I don't want to give away the whole ending of how that scene comes about or how it ends. But that was a really, really good scene, and one of his quieter moments, and I thought was really well done. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to a Black Panther movie for sure, and this definitely seeing Boseman in this movie increased my enthusiasm big time for the film. Not that I wasn't enthused before, but this shows me, okay, this is what he can do as an actor in this role, and this is kind of what we're looking forward to. I was like, cool, bring it on. And of course, Spider-Man. Spider-Man, as played by Tom Holland, a lot of people have already said it. They're saying it's the best Spider-Man interpretation we've ever had, and he's easily the best Spider-Man. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just because for me, actually, my very first superhero film that I ever saw in the theater was the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So maybe there's just a sentimentality, rose-colored glasses for me of nostalgia where that, I'm still not willing to let him go as the best Spider-Man, but maybe it's just because his casting was so perfect as Peter Parker. Maybe as Spider-Man, it was kind of a leap, but he managed it. And then with Andrew Garfield, for me, it was like, okay, yeah, I can see him great as Spider-Man, the athleticness and the buffness a little bit to him. But as Peter Parker, I was like, he doesn't really come off as that much of a nerd to me. This Tom Holland so far, it's kind of closer to the Garfield one where I'm like, yeah, I definitely see him. He fills out the suit fine. He looks like Spider-Man. He's got the athleticness and the buffness and everything that you would need to play the character. But as a nerd character, I don't think, and maybe Civil War doesn't give us a whole lot of him. He's only in, I think it's been revealed, he's only in maybe one or two sequences, but and it's just a small sampling of his character. But I don't really get that nerd sense from him yet, as trueness to the character. I think that we know Peter Parker, but we've got a whole other film with him coming where maybe they can explore that a little better and a little more, definitely. And I think, yeah, but just from this one little, he maybe gets 12, 15 minutes of screen time here. Not, I'm not giving anything away, but he's only in it for about that much. From what I saw, I really liked, and I'm really looking forward to him and his interactions with all the different Avengers characters that can and or will. We know Robert Downey Jr. will, but any other Avengers characters who could pop up in his solo films or the ones that he's gonna. I'm sure he'll be in the Infinity Wars down the line, or maybe he might pop up in one of the other ones between then and now. Like maybe he'll be in the Black Panther movie. Could be. Who knows? We don't know a whole lot about it yet. Maybe he'll pop up. Well, I don't know. Otherwise, maybe Doctor Strange. I don't know. I'm just throwing wild guesses out now, but but he could. I don't know. He could. I'm looking forward to seeing him again, definitely. And let's see. Yeah, who else did I really like? Like I said, I think William Hurt, who's obviously one of the best talents that they've gotten in any of these movies, for sure. He's. I thought he would be a one and done character as General Ross, who was I was like, they're really getting him back. And then as soon as he was on screen, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so that's what his role is and stuff. And I was surprised. He comes back for another sequence or two, and I was like, cool. Yeah, we got more of him than I thought we would. And yeah, I'm always digging the dynamics between all the different characters, which I think we get a lot of, especially Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch and Vision. I thought those relationships and just character-wise, not romantic relationships. Oh God, no! I don't want to see a three-way between those three. Oh, okay. But definitely that relationships and character building and stuff between them, I thought were really fun moments. And not moments that everybody in every superhero movie gets. But I thought the cream of the crop for me between all the characters, Ant-Man. I thought Ant-Man nailed it. Paul Rudd. The first Ant-Man I really liked, and I thought, Paul Rudd I thought was a good fit for the role, performed it very well, and it was a fun movie. But this, even though he's in it for maybe a fraction of the screen time that he was in his own Ant-Man movie, obviously, I thought he was so much fun. There's literally, I think, it depends on your audience too, but every line that Paul Rudd delivered, the audience I was with was laughing. I'm not kidding, without exception, every line of dialogue he delivered, there was laughter. Every big moment with him, and there's a couple of big moments with him, people laughed. And they clapped and they applauded and they cheered him on, and I was like, and it made me so happy to, because I thought Ant-Man, as a character, it had, with all the fans and everything because of the Edgar Wright situation, I was like, people have just been ready to piss on his parade all the time. But now he finally comes into his own here, just in these little few moments, maybe because a couple people skipped Ant-Man, didn't want to see it. Now they see what they were missing. And this is definitely the Ant-Man character that I've wanted to see for a long time. Ever since I saw I think it was early 2010s, the series they did, the animated series. It used to be on Netflix. I think it's Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, even though that's the Hank Pym as Ant-Man, not Scott Lang as Ant-Man. But ever since I saw that, and I was like, cool, Ant-Man can be a really cool character. Now they're starting to really utilize him in that way, and I thought it makes me want to see him in every Marvel movie going forward. Like, throw him into Guardians for all I care. Throw him into Black Panther. Throw him into Spider-Man. Throw him into. Hopefully, yeah, he's gonna. We've got an Ant-Man and Wasp movie coming, but throw him into Infinity War, which I'm sure we're already getting. But throw him into whatever. If they make another Iron Man or another Captain America after this, throw him in that one. Yes, and yeah, literally, I'm not kidding. Without exception, every line, every big scene he was in, every little thing he did, audience just loved it, and I really appreciated it too. And yeah, and yeah, like I said, the story, it's a good story. It's the disruption between the Avengers and what's right versus what's the right thing to do. Well, I don't know, it's kind of the same thing, but anyway, you get what I mean. It's like what we should do versus is what we're doing right, and what we should do is that right, and and differentiating and everything, and there's one particular scene that I really liked. It's toward the middle, it's just Tony without the suit and everything, just Tony and Steve without the Captain America outfit on, talking and trying to because at this point I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Tony has pretty much decided that he's gonna accept the limitations and the restrictions that the Avengers are gonna have, and says, "Yep, I'm supporting that." And he's trying to get Steve to sign it too, and say, if he's pretty much saying, "Hey, if you do this, everybody else is gonna fall in line. Everybody else, And then all of this big disputes that we're having with the governments and with the United Nations and with all these different people are going to be over, and we don't have to worry about it anymore." And Steve says, "You know what? I don't think so." And just their dialogue back and forth and their conversations. It was one of the most finely written and finely acted sequences in a Marvel film that I've seen, at least for a while. So well done and so well performed by both of them, and their levels of anger and a frustration with each other build exactly as it should, without getting there too quick, and and exploring their pasts a little bit and talking about how things have changed and stuff. I was like, man, that's a really good sequence, and it's only like a quick little 2-3 minute sequence, and probably a lot of people take bathroom breaks during it, but for me, that scene, I was like, that's even maybe as entertaining as some of the fight sequences, for sure. Is just seeing these characters sit down and try and civilize here and try to figure this stuff out and hash it out. That was, not every comic book movie does that, where they just get a moment to breathe, where the characters can kind of try to come to terms in that way. But instead of just going right to the punches, like say a certain Batman v Superman movie does. But anyways. Yeah, there's lots of other stuff I can go into, but we should get into maybe a couple of problems I had. Well, first of all, we have had a staple here in the Marvel films of the villain just disappointing us time and time again. the first Iron Man movie, the weakest point was when the villain kind of fully came into the fray there, into the story. Um, Other than Loki and maybe bits of Ultron, some parts of Ultron as a character, every villain has not really done it. The Ant-Man villain was forgettable. The Guardians of the Galaxy villain was very forgettable. I don't even remember the character's name from Thor: The Dark World. That was the villain. It was the Dark Elf guy. Malekith. There we go. Okay, I do remember. The true Mandarin, Killian from Iron Man 3. Not nothing too outstanding. And then we going down the line there. But and here with Zemo, I'd say it's not as bad as some of those other ones as far as memorability. I definitely think there's going to be parts of his character that I remember going forward, but again, it's not a terrific villain, and I definitely think the dynamics of the superheroes and everything overcomes that, and it's not something that breaks the movie and makes it terrible or anything. But but I thought Zemo, a couple of moments here and there, I was like, I don't know if we really even need this character. I mean, I feel like we could have gotten this to this point without him. There's a couple sequences here and there that I thought were kind of kind of weird, but there's one particular scene where somebody's giving a speech or something, and Steve is there, and he hears words that somebody else had spoken, and it basically says about how you should always stand your ground, even when everybody's saying move, say no, you move. I think it was something like that. I was like, that's a little too on the nose for the because it happens right after the big kind of scene where they're trying to decide whether or not to accept the government's control or whatever. And I was like, that's a little too on the nose for the dialogue, and it's like, I don't know. And of course, there's a couple other problems I have with the movie, but we'd get into spoiler territory, and but there's, like I said, there's little kind of some plot holes here and there. Like there's a particular scene where Winter Soldier, I think as we see in the trailer, gets subdued a little bit, and he's taken somewhere, and he's a certain other character comes in. I won't say who it is, but a certain other character comes in and is disguised as trying to be somebody else. And I was like, you're dealing with somebody who just supposedly made this attack and just did something terrible. And you have that minimal security around this guy, and you're just going to let anybody in to talk to him, and that was kind of a little plot hole there. And then and like I said, I don't want to give too much away here or anything, but it was maybe a couple of points around the villain that I was like, I don't know, that's a little, there are some moments like that. And then, but for me, I don't think there were any moments of comedy that fell flat or anything. Everything that was funny. Everything that was meant to be funny, I should say, was humorous and entertaining. None of the fight sequences went on for too long. I never got bored during them. I'd say and then after that, the only thing negative about that airport sequence is right after that, you almost feel like, okay, it almost feels like, okay, that's the ending of the movie, but oh wait, we've still got like another 45 minutes left, and or close to that left. And so I think for some audience members, I'm sure there will be a little bit of restlessness until we get to the next big thing in the last act there. But even then, I thought there were some sequences there in between the big airport and then the final battle that were kind of cool and kind of and were fine. But I could understand how some people can say, oh, it's just so. You're so exhilarated after that scene that you're like, oh, so now we have to, go back to this and not have any more of that. And yeah, that's kind of, that's understandable, I think. Anyways, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess that's about all I got to say about it. I mean, it's a really, really fun time. It's one of the best Marvel movies yet. I would, like I said, I think I put it second best, just behind the Avengers. But even then, it's not like, oh, this is Avengers is miles ahead of this still, and everything else in Marvel has just been, no, I think I especially after that airport sequence, I'm like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10 movie. And then there's some parts I was thinking back on it, and I was like, well, actually, that was kind of a plot hole there, and this kind of feels a little unnecessary. Like, yeah, there's this, the film opens, and the reason why this whole Accords thing, as they mentioned in the movie, and the whole government control thing is because of one incident. And then later on, there's like a whole another incident that happens again, and I was like, I don't know if this whole second incident is very necessary. I mean, couldn't we have just gotten to after that sequence, you know, another way or a simpler way instead of just repeating what you kind of did earlier? But that's kind of a gripe, and there's a couple of things that happen specifically at that second incident that that do bring the plot forward and bring other certain characters in or make certain characters do this or do that, and but I think there were other ways where you could have done that, but it almost felt like, okay, set up and repeat, but anyways, but yeah, that's like a minor quibble, and in a way it's kind of necessary, but I just, maybe if I was directing it, I would have done it a little different, but anyways. But yeah, that's nitpicking. I mean, it's yeah. There's nothing catastrophically wrong with the movie, and nothing that made me sit back in my seat and just go At 2 hours 27 minutes, it flies by, and there's for me there was never really a point where I got bored, and there was never a point where I was like, okay, wrap this up, or this is taking too long, or anything like that. No, nope. Everything goes at a really nice pace. I thought, the balance between being that Marvel funny kind of and being serious. I thought, there would be a scene of super dramatic tension, and then they would bring it in with some. They would ring it in with some humor right at the right moment, where you didn't feel like, oh, we're going to go into some drab melodrama here for the next half hour. Instead, a moment comes in where you're like, oh, yeah, we can be, we show the humanity of these characters again, and show their funny side, or the humorous side of the situations that they're in and stuff, and they balance that very well, very well. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. The audience I was with, they had a blast. And I think it is a great start to the summer season. And I'm telling you, I don't know how even future Marvel films years down the line are going to top that airport scene. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's another one of those things where it's like, okay, play that on loop for the equivalent of the movie's running time, and you'll still feel, it'll still be exhilarating by the time by the time it comes up for the last time, and you've seen it 6 or 7 or 8 times in a row, and it's, you'll still be entertained. It's that good. And there's little things I'm sure that maybe some moments that I missed, little lines of dialogue or something because everybody was laughing, or maybe there's things in the background that I was focused on the foreground, not the background, and there's some cool stuff in the background that I missed. And but anyways, yeah, I think, and this is one I'll probably see it again, and yeah, I think it speaks volumes as far as how good Marvel has been can do, I should say, not has been doing, because yeah, Ant-Man was really good. Ultron had really good moments. Maybe not the best movie, but yeah, and yeah. So I think Marvel, yeah, as far as DC Marvel, like I said, I've said this before, but if you're just going to compare where they're at in their respective universes, it's not fair to judge Marvel versus DC. But if you want to judge as far as which versus movie is better, Batman v Superman or Civil War, as far as Captain America versus Iron Man, you got to go Civil War. I think it's almost unanimous, unless you're a blind DC fanboy, and then there's nothing I can do for you. But anyways, but just the emotions of the fight, which I think true. That's kind of not fair because Batman and Superman, that's their first movie together, or versus Iron Man and Captain America have been in, what is it? This is their third movie together, and they've had this long, to build up relationships. But just the reasons they were fighting, I thought, were way better explained, and their motivations were way better. And maybe it kind of helps to have other characters around you to either support you or tell you to go do this or else. And that's something we couldn't really have in Batman v Superman. But I think just also on an execution level, Zack Snyder, just as a director, I don't think is up to the level that the Russo brothers are, and screenwriters too. I think definitely the screenplay for Batman v Superman was kind of messy, but here in Civil War it's much cleaner, and their tone and their vision is much clearer, I thought. Anyways, but yeah, as far as this, just one last point here on this DC versus Marvel, and you have to have one or the other or none of them. It's like somebody walking up to a fruit stand where there's apples on one side of the fruit stand, oranges on the other, and saying, "Ooh, apples! Yeah, apples are delicious, and they're the greatest fruit in the world, and they help. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. But oranges are evil. Oranges are unhealthy. They are stupid. They're orange, not red. This is what's wrong with them. And anybody who likes oranges is a stupid idiot. And all. It's like, come on, they're two different things. And there's a world that we live in where apples and oranges coexist. Why can't there be a world where Marvel and DC coexist? There's no reason for us not to have a world where they coexist. And yeah, I don't get it. I mean, like I said, I've made it clear before. Just because I happen to like every Marvel film better than the two DC movies we've had in their universe, I think for sure Dark Knight Rises are better than a lot of DC, than almost all of the Marvel movies, probably. And Batman Begins, I'm not a gigantic fan of, but I thought that was better than Iron Man 2, probably better than Guardians of the Galaxy for me, probably better than Thor: The Dark World for sure. It's not a all DC sucks and all Marvel. I'm not that guy. No. And like I said, I don't go into the DC movies saying, "Oh, let this be bad. Please let this be bad, and let Marvel continue to reign supreme." No. Anybody with that attitude again is ridiculous. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. I don't know why. I mean, come on, people. Star Trek versus Star Wars has been a thing since '77. And we've never gotten this violent. And well, then again, we didn't have the internet back then, so maybe it would have been. But we've never gotten this violent and death threats and all this bullshit that happens over this. It's ridiculous. Seriously, lives have been threatened over this, which is stupid. There might be a suicide in there or two, which is ridiculous. And all the verbal fights and everything. It's just disgusting. It's disgusting the level of viciousness there is out there and the level of hatred there is out there. There's no reason for all this hatred. Just go in, see the movie, like it or don't like it, but don't. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting nowhere with this, and we will have. I don't think we're ever going to get anywhere with this until one of them stops, and then whatever happens. But yeah, I don't know. It's stupid. This whole thing's stupid. I don't know why I even comment on it. It's just a waste of my breath, anyways. But yeah, just in case you watch this video and you're interested to know what I think about this, I think it's stupid. It's bullshit. People have had their lives threatened. Some people have had their lives taken over this. It's stupid. There is no. I mean, like I said, it's apples. And it's like saying oranges are god awful and apples are amazing and the best thing ever. And saying that oranges with lots of vitamin C and whatever else, all the nutrition facts between the two. Not that I'm a major in that or anything or an expert in that, but they're both healthy for you. They're both good foods. They're both it's like we've never had an apple versus orange war ever. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why this stupid thing persists. But anyways. But yeah, I think for the most part, though, critics are on board with this film and they like it a lot. The audience really liked it when I was with, and yeah, I think Captain America: Civil War 9 out of 10. There's a few forgivable flaws in there. I think some flaws, but they are overcome in the long run, and they don't totally disrupt the movie and make it a mess or anything like a certain other property. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Lots of fun, a great way to start off the summer season, and I seriously, it's going to be hats off to anybody who can top that airport sequence this summer. I don't know if it can be done, and it's a tall order though. It's a tall order. I'll give you that. All right, so yeah, that's it. Captain America: Civil War, 9 out of 10. Really liked it. Really liked it. And yeah, just stop with this DC war and Marvel war, please. It's ridiculous. Just accept both, and sure you can. There's people out there who do like all the Marvel movies in comparison to all the DC movies they've done of the two. Uh, like me. That's fine. I'm not, like I said, I've made videos on this before. Look them up. But I said I did not walk into Batman v Superman saying, oh, let's hate this. And this was after the reviews had gotten out and after the 28% on Rotten Tomatoes and everything. I was still like, just be good. I've disagreed with critics before. That doesn't mean I have to agree with them now. Just because just because almost 3 out of 4 critics don't like this movie doesn't mean I can't like it. And just because I fell into line there doesn't mean I'm a blind Marvel fanboy either. So, but anyways, yeah. Anyways, let's end this before it gets too violent.